In this video, I'll go over 3 different types of battery boxes I use for camping. I do a lot of truck shell camping, and from time to time my wife and I will go car camping and use the tent to sleep in. Sometimes we have electric, sometimes not. In the truck shell, I like to do a lot of dispersed type, primitive type camping where I have to bring all of my power with me. I do occasionally bring a generator to run maybe an air conditioner or a microwave or a coffee pot, which is a really big luxury that I don't really need to have. I don't always camp like that, but I'll always bring some type of a battery box. A typical camping trip for me is a weekend or a long weekend. Occasionally I'll camp for the entire week, so the amount of power that I need is really limited, because by the time my battery boxes are depleted of power, it's time for me to come home, and I'm just going to plug them in when I get to the house, charge them back up, and I'm good to go for the next trip. So none of my battery boxes have any solar panels that I hook up to them. As a matter of fact, these battery boxes I have are really simple and basic and easy to build. Option number 1, ammo can battery box. There are a ton of videos on YouTube showing step-by-step instructions on how to build these and wire these with many different bells and whistles and lights and solar panel inputs, different size batteries, different types of batteries, different size ammo cans, you name it. I just kept it really simple and really cheap. The box itself is an ammo box from Harbor Freight. It's plastic, $5 with the coupon. The on and off switch, the voltage meter, the USB outlet, and the 12 volt outlet. I bought those for $15 off Amazon. Came mounted in this plate and pre-wired with an inline fuse. I took all the components out and mounted them separately in this box. There's a little more work involved doing that. Another option would just be to purchase a smaller set like this. This plate here has on and off switch, USB outlet with the voltage meter built into it, and a cigarette lighter outlet. This you could actually just cut out a square or a rectangular opening on the side of this box. This box is really thin. You could use a utility knife to cut a rectangle out, leave room for the mounting screws on the corners, and that would make it a lot easier to build one of these. And like I said, the wiring is pre-wired. Put the red wire to the positive plus on the battery, the black wire to the negative on the battery, and you're set. The batteries that I used are 2 7 amp hour lead acid batteries. They're sealed. They're the type of battery that I use for my backups on my computers. They are about $15 a piece on eBay. I use 2 of them in parallel, which gives me around 14 amp hours. Some of the things I like about this small battery box is its size. It's very portable. It's easy to carry around. Even though it has lead acid batteries, it doesn't weigh that much. It's plenty enough power for a couple days camping for me. I just use these for my cell phone charger, maybe to run a couple LED lights, charge up my Bluetooth speaker, maybe charge up my MP3 player. You know, I really don't have that many things that I have to keep charged, and so for a weekend this works out great. Another thing I like about it, $50 total, batteries, everything included. So it's very inexpensive and not a very hard build to do it yourself. Option number 2, a much larger and way heavier version of a battery box. This build can also be found all over YouTube, and it's basically the same thing as the smaller versions, just a larger scale. It's got a larger battery inside. The components on the outside I purchased off Amazon, on and off switch, USB outlets with a built-in LED voltmeter, and the cigarette lighter plug. That all came pre-wired on this plate with an inline fuse. I disassembled it and cut separate holes for each component. If you wanted to make it really easy, and if you don't have a hole saw, you could just cut out a rectangular cutout for this whole assembly to slide in without taking it apart, and just leave room on the corners for the screws to mount it. Put your red wire to the positive, your black wire to the negative, and it's as simple as that. The battery inside this larger battery box came with my pull-behind camper. When I purchased my camper, they gave me a brand new deep cycle marine type lead acid battery. This particular one happens to be, I think, around 80 amp hours. That compared to the smaller battery box, which is about 14 amp hours. Now, this lead acid battery is about $100 to purchase one of these. If I were going to go out shopping and replace this, I would probably look for an AGM type sealed lead acid battery. It would probably cost maybe twice as much, but I think it would be worth it. When I wired this up and I mounted this assembly on the side of the box, the inline fuse for the hot wire was not, the lead wasn't quite long enough, so I could have added a lead wire on the end of this fuse holder, but I had another fuse holder already that had longer leads, so I went ahead and installed this longer fuse holder on here, and I had to find some ring terminals that fit the battery post terminals. Battery box I purchased, I think from Walmart, was $15. The outlets and with the switch was around $15 from Amazon. But really simple, really easy build. This is good for a multi-day camping trip. Disadvantages is obvious, it weighs a ton. The gases that come out of the battery cells are harmful. You don't want this inside an enclosure. I wouldn't put this inside the back of my truck. Leave it outside on a picnic table or something like that. There's also acid in here that could leak out if it tipped over. But it has advantages and disadvantages, but it has its place. And finally, my option number 3 battery box would be my good old Jump Start battery made by Stanley. This is the 1000 peak battery amp version. There are smaller ones and some larger ones. This is a pretty good middle of the road version here. Not only will it jumpstart a dead battery on your car or someone's car, it also has a USB outlet, cigarette lighter outlet here. It has your battery status lights across the top, a nifty little LED light on the side. There is a 120 psi compressor built in the back so you can pump up a flat tire. Your jumper cables in the back. The charger's built inside. You just hook up an extension cord to the back here, and overnight this thing will charge up fully. This particular unit, I checked the manual, and it has obviously a sealed lead acid battery. It's a glass mat type battery, non-replaceable inside. It's 19 amp hours, so that actually beats out the ammo box with the 2 batteries in it that comes in at 14 amp hours. So this one will actually last a little longer. No assembly required. I mean, you just purchase it and it's ready to go. It actually comes with this cable where you could actually top it off or charge it driving down the road. You plug this in your cigarette lighter in the truck or car, and you can top it off as you travel. But this one's hard to beat. Currently $67 at Walmart. I mean, how are you going to beat that? $67, and look at everything you can do with it. So this one's probably my favorite, and it's pretty hard to beat for the money. Well, those are the 3 battery box options that I'm currently using. Hopefully this video gave you some things to think about, maybe some options to consider when purchasing or building your own battery box. When it comes down to it, the best battery box for you is going to be the one that fits your needs the most. If you have any comments or questions, leave them in the comment section below, and I'll get back with you as soon as possible. Thank you for watching. Please subscribe.